welcome to TBS. Today, I'm finally going to be talking about Madeline McCann. I think I'm to the point where I can talk unbiased about this topic. Everyone's been obsessed with this case. Everyone cares about her, or cared, depending on how you want to say it. And there's something very special and innocent about her, knowing that she was put in a position of horrible vulnerability, and you ache for her. You wish that you could have saved her yourself. You wish that you could have taken her and had her be your child so that bad things wouldn't have happened to her. What I'm going to do before we do the reading is talk about the facts that we do know, that they're total facts and there's no debate about the case. And then I want to ask, where Maddie is, how she's doing, what happened to her, and who's guilty, and if they did it on purpose. It might be a long reading, it might be short, I don't know, but we're just going to go with the flow. Something about Maddie is special. Kind of like, it's not like JonBenet, because she was younger than JonBenet. It's like she had more innocence and more light, I guess you could say. When kids are younger, they have light coming out of them in some way. I don't know how to describe it, unless they're sick or something bad has already happened to them. She was not safe. So I'm going to use these two decks today, and we'll see what we find out. So what we know for certain is that Kate and Jerry McCann took their 3 children, who were in vitro children, to Port de Luz, Portugal. And this was about 10 years ago, a little more. And I thought they were from Liverpool, but Jerry sounds very Irish. I don't know how to say that, but I don't know where they're from originally, but they're both doctors. And when Kate had her children, she decided to be a part-time doctor or not be a doctor anymore. I can't remember. But they couldn't have kids, so they had Maddie with the fertilization treatment in vitro thing. And then they had 2 twins, Emily and I always forget his name. They were let's see here. When you hear Kate and Jerry talk about Madeline, it seems like they think she's different in her personality than the twins. It seems like they think the twins were easier to deal with, even though there was 2 of them, and that Maddie was very loud and wanted attention and wanted that she was quote unquote, I guess you could say, difficult to deal with. I don't know if they believed this when they said it, but those are things that they have said in the media. And Kate wrote a book too about Maddie and the whole entire experience of her being taken or missing or gone. And she even wrote disparagingly about her in the book. It's kind of odd when you hear parents talk about a little kid that's that young having problems, having personality problems. It wasn't exactly a behavioral thing, the way that they said it sometimes. It was more like, she is a problem. I'm putting those things in there, but the fact is that they did have a problem with their oldest daughter in some kind of behavioral way. They didn't want her to act as she acted or react as she acted in some way. When you watch the videos of Maddie playing and talking, it seems like Jerry is encouraging her to be loud and talk and sing. But I don't know if that was just play for the camera. You know how it is. Sometimes people just want to put forth a good face. And definitely the McCanns are into that, because as soon as Maddie was disappeared, they went to the media and used the media and sometimes the police, which they disparaged also. And they didn't look for Maddie at all. They said they were looking for her, but they actually were delegating and sending people out to look for her. So what happened was Maddie and her two younger siblings, were put in their apartment motel area. They were put into bed, and the parents went out to eat with their friends, which they did every night when they were there. And the other people in the tapas restaurant, they're called the Tapas 7 or Tapas 9 if you want to include the McCanns. They also had children, some of them did, staying in the apartments as well, sleeping. And so the parents would one by one go back every half hour or so and check and see if the children were okay, and they were all supposed to be sleeping. I don't know how they would guarantee this, but the McCanns even left their door unlocked. I don't really understand why they would, and they did not use the babysitting facilities in the night, even though they could have. So one of the nights, it was very odd because, Jerry went back to check on them, and he said everything was fine, but maybe a window was open. And then when Kate went back to check on them that night, Maddie was gone, the window was open, and the twins were sleeping, and the door was like shut anyway. So she started screaming, and everybody started to panic, and it was a very crazy, chaotic scene from then on. And Kate and Jerry were the ones who immediately told the police to look for pedophiles, or like someone that would sell her or use her to be their own daughter, something like that. And they were distraught, and the whole time that the police were in the room trying to find any clues, the little twins were sleeping still. And it may have been that all the children were drugged in that group so that they wouldn't get up during the time they were out eating. I don't know that, but that's been speculated, and it seems like it makes sense. So the fact is that Maddie's gone, her body seemingly gone, and the McCanns are trying to get people to look for her. And in the oncoming days, there's a giant search on the island / peninsula trying to find Maddie. Some people come forward and say they've seen different sightings of her with different people, or strange men holding children. And one whole family came forward and said they saw Jerry with Maddie walking her around that same time, and she looked like she was sleeping. And that's a whole family that said that, but it's sightings, so you never know if that's true or not. And it was wonderful to see that everybody cared so much to find the child. I mean, obviously, she was a white child slash British child in a place that they had to pretty much do what the McCann said by the letter, or they would have been, like, the media and the police would have been in big trouble by the people in charge of Port Duluth, like the mayor and stuff. I don't really understand how it works, but there's been a lot of speculation about how good the police did or not, but I don't know much about that part, even though there is some paperwork that can be found online. So anyway, during the month or so the McCann stayed looking for Maddie, they were seen jogging and doing other vacation things the whole time they were there. And then they left and went back to the UK and to England. And ever since then, things have ensued. Police dogs have found cadaver smell or blood smell, I don't remember, or both, in the hotel room and in the bushes and in the car that the McCanns were renting. But nothing came of that, as in the McCanns were never questioned or accused of anything. Cadaver means that she would have been dead, not taken. Unless she was killed and then taken, which doesn't make much sense, but I guess it could have happened. So, in other words, Maddie's been missing since then. The McCanns still have their other 2 children and have gone on in their life, going to the media like clockwork to get people riled up again to see if they can find her, talking about a book that Kate wrote and how they miss her, and holding Cuddle Cat, which is her favorite little toy. And they act the same every time. There's been no tears. No real tears have ever come from the McCanns for Maddie. It's always been a histrionic display. And that's the truth. There's nothing to be said against her about that. I mean, it's actually true. They've never cried on camera. And obviously, no one knows how people will act, and they're doctors, so people would think they don't have a lot of, their bedside manner would be to put on a brave face about things like this. But, you know, Maddie is lost or gone. And there's different people that the McCanns knew, that one of them was a pedophile that was there on the island and all that kind of thing. So she either was killed or taken, and no one knows for certain. No one's been indicted. There's been many pedophiles that have been interviewed over the years, and Christian is the last one to the latest one. He obviously didn't do it, but it's been noted that a lot of governments around the world are paying attention to how this is handled. So let's find out about Maddie. Alright, so this is a new deck, which I'm excited to use for the first time. I did pre-shuffle, which I always do, but you know, just to make sure, shuffle again. She's when I think of her, I don't think of an angel exactly, but more like a child with a bright light around her that's in danger. So first I want to do a past, present, future with Maddie, just to set the tone of the reading, and then we'll go on from there. Okay, so Nine of Wands means that she was defending herself against her parents or against her plot in life, because her life would have only been her parents pretty much, or grandparents and siblings. She didn't go to school yet. Ace of Cups means that it means new life, creation, a good idea, the beginning of love, or a child being born. So this could be taken as Maddie is going to a different life. It could be taken as she is the child of the McCanns, or that they wanted a new child. It could be taken many ways. And then the Page of Swords, what happened to her. The Page of Swords is the messenger that thinks they know everything, but they actually don't. So this is pretty much just saying what we already know. That the media has said many things that they thought were true, and it wasn't. Nothing has come from it. But this is sad, because it means that she was defending herself, and she knew that she was in danger. She was cognizant of danger around her, even back in England. Okay, Hanged Man means surrender. It means that at some point she had surrendered to what she was fighting. And the Six of Pentacles, of course, is generosity. And I would say that because this is happening kind of in the future of what happened to her, it could be that many people were trying to find her and help. But it could also mean that the McCanns were given many things, or that they gave many things to find her. And the Five of Swords means victory for someone, but at a loss. So that could mean that many players were in this, obviously, but I mean, if you think about it. But if it was Five of Swords for Maddie, it would mean that she got something good out of what happened, but it was bad also. If it was the McCanns, it means that they got a victory because they either got people to help or they got away with it, but they have to pay for it by acting a certain way or doing certain things in the media. And for the police, it means like they bettered how they do things because of this case, but they lost a lot of face because of it. Now, Judgment is talking about, it does talk about the afterlife, but it also means judgment, that someone will be judged, such as the McCanns or the police for not doing their job, or whoever took her would be judged. So if this is all about Maddie and we keep it in her sphere, she was defending herself but had to surrender at some point to some kind of new life. And she may have gone to heaven, and that was why she has a good thing that happened even though she's gone. Or it means that she's I don't know, Cup, you'll have to fix that. So, and Seven of Wands, once again, this could be the McCanns fighting or her fighting. And the only reason they would be fighting is if they were guilty. So let's put these aside, save them for later. And now we'll go ahead and do the reading. Poor Maddie. The Sun, that's also about children, vitality. Two of Swords is could have gone two different ways. Justice means justice will be served or has not been served. Seven of Cups is many choices. Two of Cups is partnership. And Three of Swords. It's heartbreak. Alright, so the Two of Swords could mean that it's the two different ways the McCanns could have gone that night, which is they could have reported what happened or not done it, or they could try to get away with it or hide it or try to save themselves whatever happened. Justice means that justice is supposed to happen and it will happen in time, but also it means there might have been a question of justice. The McCanns and the police and the media had many choices with this case, and definitely it seems like everybody's changed except for the McCanns. They're always pretty much the same in the eyes of everybody. They don't act different. The Two of Cups is a partnership, which could be Kate and I see that as Kate and Jerry, like no other way that could be. That has to be them. And the Three of Swords is the three children hurting the McCann's heart, but also it could just be like how they feel, or that how Maddie feels that she's gone. The Fool. Okay, so the Fool is innocence, but it also means starting over. Since we've had a bunch of starting over child and death, new beginning cards, I would definitely say that, and since the McCanns have not changed, that means they haven't had a new beginning. I would say that this means that Maddie is dead and that she has had a new beginning. And that definitely 100% she's not on this earth. Some more fighting. And that could be Kate. The fact is also that the McCanns have received millions of dollars because of this. And they have used some of it in a suspect manner. The World. Eight of Swords. So this is saying like how they feel that they could get out of this by telling the truth, or they could get out of this by doing better about concealing it, but they're kind of stuck where they are. And the World is the completion. So I hope that isn't the completion of the case, like no one will ever find out, but let's see. Six of Wands, victory. Okay, and who is that for? Oh my, the Tower, who's it for? Ace of Wands, who's it for? Who's it for? Okay, so this is Jerry. That's Kate and Jerry and their friends. This is what happened that night. They have victory and they came up with an idea. Okay, so it isn't 100% certain, but So far, the answers have been Maddie is dead and that the McCanns came up with a plan that night to save themselves from something that happened to her. They have a united front against the world. They're good partners. Let's see what happened. They have willpower to succeed in this and not get caught, and it is a heavy burden. But the money keeps them sustained. They've been really good at pulling the wool over everyone's eyes. And when they look towards the future, they actually don't see anything bad. They just see more money coming, and they're very happy. They believe no one will ever prosecute them for what has happened. And that they celebrate all the time. And they're very happy, actually. They're happy medium because they don't have to take care of her anymore, but also that they are free. Now let's find out what happened. Okay, so Queen of Wands could be being a doctor or charismatic, and Temperance, of course, is just that, and Three of Coins is making something. So whatever happened, maybe Kate came up with an idea of how to mediate the situation, and they came up with it together. And they wanted to keep their family, so they decided to make a story. And they decided to lie. They had hoped they would get away with it, and looking towards the future, they did. And instead of having exactly the same, like the happy family thing, they have more like the traditional sturdy family thing now. They saved themselves from ruin, and they still have the twins. Sometimes they go to the church for help. When they feel scared, they'll be in poverty or that something will happen. And they also keep them self-righteous, actually. They think that everything they did was perfectly fine, that they did what they had to do to save their family. But so, in other words, let's go back and go through it again just to make sure. So Maddie died that night, and the McCanns had something to do with it. They wanted to save their family, as in have the twins still be with them. They didn't want to go to jail, and they figured out a plan and a story so that they could be safe and continue living with the other children and not have their lives be bad. They felt fortunate because Maddie was gone and the trouble was gone, but also that they could become free if they played this correctly. They had a boon, an unknown boon with all the money that came to them, and they knew that they're a good partnership, as long as they kept their story straight, nothing bad would happen. And when they're scared, they go to the church for help and guidance, and to make sure they still remember what's important to them. They believe they've done nothing wrong, covering up whatever happened. And they've worked very hard at keeping this as it is. They still love each other, and now they have a lot of money in the bank. I really want to know what happened though. As you guys might have noticed, sometimes my readings, they don't tell us anything until like there's some kind of foundation built that somehow we have to know, and then it tells at the end. Of course, every now and again it doesn't work, but it should. Okay, so the Queen of Swords is Kate, but it also means the truth. And this is a very good burst of insight on Jerry's part, where he hid her in the closet or in a bag or something. And they were apathetic about her death, not loving her enough. They hit rock bottom that night, as in that was the worst part of their life, so that isn't even that bad, because they kind of got what they wanted. But it was bad for her because it was her last night on Earth. They didn't know what would happen to them, and they were scared. And so they decided to work very hard at how to keep themselves. They're still in love. They just feel very lucky, and they're glad that they got away with it, and they have this wonderful nest egg. So come on, I want to know what's new, like what happened. Of course, they have to hide themselves sometimes. It's Jerry. And the Emperor is, there might be someone that knows what happened, who is benevolent to them, and also they're slightly afraid of, which could be that pedophile on the island, the Sigmund Freud grand guy, grandnephew or whatever he is. Of course, there's regret also. They know the truth. They do get scared at night thinking about it, because it is death. They want to move forward, but they know that if they want to, they'll have to come forward with everything clean, in the spiritual way, I guess you could say, in a way that means totally conscious free. But they're not going to do that because that isn't their goal. Okay, please tell us what happened to Maddie. The well. Knight of Wands. So action. So someone took her to the well. Someone took her body to the well. To rest. To die. To be buried. Two of coins, it means they could have gone one or two places, the ocean or the well. I don't know if the well is in the ground or it's a well itself. Intuition. Okay, so let's use intuition to see if we can find out what the well is. Okay, it's someplace that only people with money could go. They could get there fast. It was at night, obviously. And it was a place that has temptation, maybe a bar. Childhood playthings. Lovers. Sensitivity. Knight of Swords, Six of Swords, Four of Wands. Okay. That's right. So what I think is going on is that her body is in a well by the place they were at. So it's like a well by the water, by a little jetty, and it goes underwater, but part of it is ground as well. And it's next to a place where there's a pavilion where people can hang out and have fun. And you can walk there on the road from the hotel they were staying at. Hmm. I see this as the ocean could keep her in a little grave, like protect her, but I don't know why why this is saying this is Kate McCann right now, because this is a person of independent wealth, and that's true, but what does that have to do with the well? Let's try again. See what we can figure out. The pavilion, like they had to go past a bar to get there, or the pavilion sells beer. They took the children to play near there, and that's how they know it's there. No one told them about it. They just saw it and were kind of interested in it when they were playing one day out in the daytime on the beach. It wouldn't be something you could actually search because it's too narrow. It's like a pipe type thing. She's just small enough to go in. Okay, this is saying once again their fears at night about the truth coming out are assuaged by the money, even though it is about death and having to try and have willpower. They have someone who helps them with the money and their PR guy. But what about the well? Yeah, okay. So definitely they put her body, they dropped her body / smashed her body into this tube that goes down into the ocean. It's like a well area from the beach area, kind of where maybe a sewer pipe might be or something like that. It's for water, not sewer, I think, but still, I mean, Jerry thought really fast. He's a man of action. He always has been. And that's how they got her in there, and that's how they've been safe this whole time. It isn't that the police haven't thought about looking down there. It's just that it goes to the ocean in part of it, and other part is mud. And how are they going to go look down there? They can't send someone down there to look, and it's too narrow to send. Even if they sent like a light down there, they couldn't see anything. So this was really fortuitous for Jerry and Kate. So that's where she is. If she went down into the ocean and kind of settled down there in the muck right by there, that would make sense. I want to know how Maddie feels now with these. Aww. Okay. Come out of the cave, persecution expression. So you could kind of say that she's in a cave right now, and that she was persecuted. She came here to do that and to go, and that's why her personality was different. She was a starseed. And now she has a mother, as in Mother Mary, up home in heaven. That's really cute. Yeah, starseed. She went up on a pillar of light, obviously, and said no to being here. And she has awakened. She has a new energy, and she may come back again as something else. Right now she's with the Great Gathering, though, and with Mary and the Good Counsel. She took the leap of faith and has been transformed. I'm assuming that she is this age now, up there, and she's now protected. Now, Sisterhood of the Rose and Mary. This is something that has to do with Mary Magdalene. So, Mary Magdalene used to be a prostitute, and when she met Jesus, she changed, and the way that we think of her now, instead of just having Mary being with the baby Jesus, Mary Magdalene is symbolized as holding a rose, or a cup of oil, which is how she washed Jesus' feet during the festival that time. So it's a fallen woman being redeemed. So this could mean that Maddie was sexually abused or sexually touched in some way. And so she had to be born again. She chose that so that she wouldn't have to deal with the bad parts of that later. It's so odd how we choose things. So when she was sleeping, she chose to go close. She was close to death because of the medicine and chose to go. And she has a mother now that was unlike the mother she had here. I don't know exactly how this kind of thing works. We don't know because I don't have any past life experiences that I remember. I don't know how this works, but all I have is the things people have said in a testimony or maybe medical stuff. But as far as I can tell, Mary Magdalene and Mary are protecting her or with her at this point. And her deepest calling was to tell the truth and help people find out things about that. And then the grandmother of Jesus is with the Great Gathering. Anna, she's also helping. So instead of having a bad mom like she did here, quote unquote, she has 3 moms there. And she's become a priestess. She is replenished. And everything is yes and good. She can play as she couldn't as a child, but as a child she is there, I guess. She got away from a crumbling thing, and now she has boundaries because where she was, she didn't. Now she's dancing with life, is unbound, and is an ever unfolding rose like Mary Magdalene. She trusted her path to get to where she needed to be, and now she's with her soul family. Her life there is a mirror of what it was here because she had to go do this to get there. Her inner temple is clean, unlike what happened here. And now she helps keep the earth. So think of her as this person here, looking out of her cave of where she was and being surrounded by good friends and mother figures that help. So when she was under drugs, being drugged to sleep, it's something that shouldn't have happened, but because for whatever reason, maybe she had too much that night or something given to her by Kate, she in her sleep she sensed that she was close to death, and instead of fighting she surrendered and said, I'll go. So that is why she's gone, and Jerry and Kate had to get rid of the body and make sure they didn't get in trouble because of what they did, because they wanted to keep the family they already had, which was with the twins. So that wasn't exactly straightforward, but overall I'm pretty satisfied with the reading, and that's exactly what happened. So Maddie is in Port de Luz, her body anyway, and it would be kind of neat if we passed on and got to meet her and see what she looks like and talk to her. That would be neat. So this has been TBS. Have a good night.